The first thing most people notice when they walk into a pottery studio is the clay, the shelf filled with pots, the spinning wheels, the bag of raw earth waiting to be transformed. But if you spend enough time in the studio, you begin to notice something else: the sound, or perhaps more accurately, the absence of noise. Unlike many workshops filled with loud machines and constant activity, a pottery studio has its own quiet rhythm. It's a quiet place where the sounds are gentle, familiar, and almost comforting. You don't have to search for silence here. It naturally becomes part of the experience. Listen closely. You hear the soft hum of the pottery wheel as it begins to turn. Not loud enough to interrupt your thoughts, but steady enough to become part of the background. It keeps quiet rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, reminding you that something is slowly taking shape. Then comes the sound of the wet hands meeting the spinning wheel. A soft, almost whisper-like movement as water glides across the surface. It's a sound that's difficult to describe, yet every potter knows it instantly. It tells you the clay is moving, responding, becoming something new beneath careful hands. Nearby, someone lifts a sponge from a bucket. Water drips gently back into the container. A wooden rib tool glides across the side of a bowl with a quiet scraping sound, smoothing away small imperfections. A metal trimming tool shaves away thin ribbons of leather-hard clay that fall softly onto the table below. None of these sounds demand attention. Together, they create a kind of music that belongs only to the pottery studio. Even the pauses have a sound. A potter steps back from the wheel and simply looks at the piece they have made. No words are needed, only the quiet moments between one decision and the next. In pottery, silence is not empty. It is where observation happens. It's where patience grows. Then there is the familiar snap of a wire tool cutting a finished pot from the wheel. A simple sound, but one that signals the end of a journey and the beginning of another. The pot leaves the wheel, ready for drying, trimming, glazing, and eventually the kiln. Even the kiln has its own quiet presence. As it heats, you may hear the faint click of switches or the gentle expansion of metal. Nothing dramatic, just a reminder that transformation is taking place behind a closed door, unseen but steadily unfolding. Perhaps this is one of the reasons so many people find pottery calming. It's not only the act of making that slows us down, it's the environment itself. The studio constantly asks for nothing more than your attention. There are no flashing notifications, no interruptions, just the sound of the wheel, the touch of clay, and the steady rhythm of the hands at work. In a world that often feels filled with noise, the pottery studio offers something increasingly rare: a place where quiet is not awkward, a place where silence has purpose, a place where the smallest sounds become meaningful because they remind us that beautiful things don't always arrive with excitement or applause. Sometimes they arrive with the gentle hum of a wheel, the whisper of wet clay beneath our hands, and the peaceful silence of someone completely absorbed in creating. And perhaps that's the true sound of a pottery studio: not noise, but presence.